Decide what you want to learn. Be single-minded, focused in getting it, and then get out. These words, Dr. Mukobo, my first real corporate boss, and later became a mentor in my first job outside of clinical work, fresh from the wards. And in our first meeting, she shared this with me. And then she resigned a month later, demonstrating her beliefs. But these words have stayed with me for over 11 years now. They've played an important role in shaping how I approach my career, how I progress in my career, and how I assess where I'm at in my career. And recently they've come back as a reminder that too many are at a place for far too long. We linger at places that were supposed to be season, and we turn them into lifestyle, a moment into a monument, an entry point that we've never progressed from, and stayed far too long after the lessons have been learned and never putting them into practice elsewhere. And this made me more aware and again puts a fire under me that collecting information is not growth. Application of information, testing of ideas, publishing of creative works. I know I've hung on to some stuff. That leads to growth. Every lesson you've learned, we know this from school, that every lesson you learn needs a place of testing and application to be useful to you and to be useful to everyone else. And I mean, as moms, imagine taking your 15-year-old and placing them in grade 1, but keeping them there for 5 years and just holding them back, having learned all of that, and now they're back in grade 1. Can you imagine? Oh, firstly, can you just imagine the grumbling? But can you imagine the restlessness, the apathy, that dying spark inside of them, the potential bullying that might follow? That is how it feels when we've developed, but the environment hasn't made room for our growth, or we haven't moved into an appropriate environment to express our growth. And so grumbling, the apathy, the discontent, restlessness starts to show up. But these are not to be shied away from, because they are great markers for where you are, because it tells you of an ending season. But when you entering each place, is to keep in mind that you are committing to learning and knowing that once you have grown, you have to make a plan to either grow out of your role into the next one, or out of the organization into the next one, or your own. Because for each stage of life, for each life stage experiences, take the lessons and then move. We must go and apply them somewhere where they will find their full expression. And so every time you've learned something and stayed, and you've started to notice the symptoms of a ending season, create the exit plan and have the courage to get out. Now, you might not always be sure if the season is ending or if you've learned the lessons. And I always have these 2 questions that I ask. One is, has the grace lifted? Because the grace can leave and you be staying there, lifting things that you shouldn't. And if it has, ask for the temporary grace for the rest of your time there, so that you can do the ending well and not abruptly or staying until your disruption to the organization. And then the second thing is to stand back from me and ask, have I learned what I came here for? And if I haven't, it's a moment of reflection to ask, why haven't I learned? And is it within my control to change that? If it is, what must I start and what must I end for me to learn it? Because sometimes it's a small tweak, as small as changing the schedule or someone that I need to make aware that these are my interests. Can they help me enter into this? And I will tell you, don't overlook the people that you think cannot help you, because in the last 21 years of my career, I have learned more from nurses, from PAs, from cleaning staff than I have from the directors and the head of departments. Nobody knows the organization more than the overlooked people. They have taught me who has influence in what area. They've taught me how to approach when I would like an opportunity. They've taught me that good relations are key to progress. They've opened doors for me to enter into meetings that I didn't even know were happening, that were relevant for my growth. And so sometimes it is a change of attitude so that you recognize that the assistance you're looking for that growth isn't lying in the people that you hold in high regard necessarily, but it is in the very people that you're busy overlooking. So perhaps the lesson is learning how to do relations well. But my takeaway or my leave behind, what is it today? Although it's a weekend, I know that this feels much like a task and very little like a motivation. It feels like I'm giving you homework. But this is a good time to take 5-10 minutes out of your day, run through those questions again. Has the grace lifted? Do I have temporary grace to do the ending well? Have I learned what I've come here to learn? Why haven't I? And is it within my control to change that? And once that shows up is to what must I end? What must I begin? Sometimes it's to end a particular hangout spot, in exchange for 10-15 minutes with a colleague who's in marketing and you want to learn marketing. Sit down with them, have them teach you how it works. It's small tweaks. It's not a major, right now I'm going to overhaul my whole house and just go. Small tweaks, but decide on what you want to do. Be single-minded on how to learn and get that learning. And then once you have learned, find the place for application. Get out. And so I wanted to encourage you that you are not stuck. You are not stuck where you are. You have the ability to make wise decisions and get back on track again. So I pray, plan, implement, reassess, and start all over again. Because if you're not putting it into action and then assessing how it's going, you will feel like you're stuck. So every action that you've made, every growth plan that you've made, reassess it and make the tweaks as you go. Make the tweaks as you go. Do not be afraid. You are not stuck. There are people along the way with you. Ask for help. Ask for help. Talk to the people. They have a lot of information for you. But for those that are going to have to get out, sometimes it's not in the next company. Sometimes it's your own. So gain wisdom for which one applies to you. Okay. And that's it for today. Enjoy the weekend and I will see you on Monday. Bye.